Nikon has been overshadowed in the mirrorless cameras war by the likes of Sony and Canon, which have grabbed all the attention. With the Z9's 45.7 megapixel sensor, that's about to change. For professionals, it's a groundbreaking 8K capable professional camera that's both fast and precise. There is no completely articulating screen on this camera, making it less appealing to videographers than devices like Sony's A1. It's a bit pricey at $5,500 for the body alone, so let's see how it compares. If you're a first-timer, subscribe to this channel and click on the notification bell to receive updates on videos like this. Now let's look at the specs of the Nikon Z9. Design and handling. The Z9 has a hefty feel to it. It's only 60 grams lighter than Nikon's D6 DSLR at 1,340 grams. A tiny 737 grams weigh in on the Sony A1, whereas the Canon EOS R3 weighs in at 1,015 grams. Many professional photographers like hefty cameras for their stability, yet a heavy camera can be exhausting. Because of its size, Nikon was able to integrate a large grip that gives users a sense of confidence, especially when using a large lens. In portrait mode, you can spin the camera 60 degrees and obtain the same controls and grip as Canon's EOS R3, making it easier to operate. Manual controls are plentiful, but the Z9 has an unappealing layout. To my dismay, the AF button is positioned close to the lens on the left side of the camera. Additionally, the top display takes up an area that could have been used for additional buttons. On the plus side, you may customize it to your liking thanks to the big number of programmable buttons. If you've been a Nikon user for a long time, you'll probably like the design better than I did. The menu interface is overly complex when compared to Sony and Panasonic's newest cameras. You have to scroll down for a long time on several menus to locate what you're looking for. Your best approach is to program the custom menus and buttons to accomplish exactly what you need to avoid any unnecessary bother. The 3.2-inch touchscreen's 2.09 million dots make it rather sharp and bright. But there are several downsides. It can only tilt up and out of the right. Thus, unless you have an external display, self-shooting or vlogging is impossible. Canon's professional EOS R3 model now boasts a fully articulating LCD, something Sony's A1 lacks. In comparison to the Sony A1, the EVF's resolution of 3.69 million dots is unimpressive for a camera of this price range. That seems like a missed opportunity given the high-resolution sensor. To its credit, data is sent to the sensor and EVF simultaneously using dual-stream technology. Because of this, Nikon claims that you will never have to worry about blackouts or frame skipping or repetition while you're shooting. Probably a poke at Sony's cameras that reduce the EVF resolution in certain situations. There are no SD card slots in the Z9's 2 CF Express slots, which is a departure from Nikon's usual approach. There are a couple of reasons why this is a wise move. Burst shooting and video are not comprised for the high frame rates needed for ProRes HQ and RAW video in the future. As a result, speed is not sacrificed when shooting. Professionals can record 2 cards simultaneously for a backup. On the other hand, the cost of CF Express and XQD cards is significantly higher compared to SD cards. The enlarged ENEL18D battery provides 740 shots and over 2 hours of 4K footage, while backward compatible with D6 and other Nikon Pro DSLR batteries. Other features include an HDMI port, an Ethernet port, and a USB-C 3.2 port for both data transfers as well as storage. When changing lenses, the sensor is protected by a cover on the Z9, which isn't mechanically attached to the camera. Performance. Nikon's latest mirrorless camera, the Z9, is the fastest to date. It's possible to shoot up to 30 JPEGs per second at full resolution or 120 JPEGs per second at a lesser 11 megapixel resolution at a rate of 20 RAW frames per second. Because there's no mechanical shutter, all of those speeds are in electronic shutter mode. Even if you don't want to hear a click, you can shoot silently or activate a simulated shutter sound. That's quick, but I was only able to take 40 lossless RAW photographs before the buffer was full on a very fast CF Express card. When using high efficiency mode, however, you can take anywhere from 70 to virtually limitless photos without a pause in your shooting. All compared to the previous model, the hybrid phase detect autofocus is vastly improved. To make up for the Z9's lack of 3D tracking on DSLRs, Nikon has implemented 3D tracking on mirrorless cameras. Most of the time, it provides highly accurate subject tracking. Athletes and other fast-moving objects can be kept in sharp focus by simply setting the tracking point on them. When photographing fast-moving subjects such as birds, the camera will occasionally switch to background or something else. In general, it performs as well or nearly as well as Sony's current A1 and A7 IV models, subject to tracking AF. In addition, the new face, vehicle, eye, and animal identification is exceptionally fast and precise, even if the subject is a long way off. Aside from human eyes, faces, heads, and upper bodies, the Z9 can also distinguish animal eyes, heads, and bodies, as well as cars, planes, and trains, for a variety of topics, even at high burst speeds. Most of my photos were in focus. Unfortunately, I did not test them all. When there's no mechanical shutter, rapid reading speeds are essential to reduce skew and other problems. But thankfully, the CMOS sensor on the Z9, which is lit from the backside, is up to the task. My experience with rolling shutter was limited to really fast movements of the camera, so even if you're photographing sports or birds, you won't have any problems. The 5-axis in-body stabilization, on the other hand, eliminates blurry photos caused by shaking cameras or hand tremors. However, the Canon EOS R3's 8 stops of shaking reduction are far superior to the 6 stops achieved by the Nikon D800. Aesthetics. The Z9's 45.7 megapixel sensor produces photographs with a wide dynamic range that are crisp and detailed. It ranks second only to Nikon's own Z7 II, which is the current dynamic range champion and has a sensor similar to that of the Z7 II. There's now a 14-bit color depth for all RAW photos, allowing for extensive post-processing in either Adobe Lightroom or Nikon's NX Studio. The Nikon Z9's new X-Speed 7 processor, which delivers improvements to white balance, may be the reason for the improved color accuracy over prior versions. Skin tones, on the other hand, aren't quite as warm as those of Canon R3 or R5. Although JPEG photographs seem good right out of the camera, default settings sometimes make them a little too sharp. Video. Nikon Z9 is hands down the most capable video camera to date. You can record in 8K H.265 for up to 2 hours without any hassles, and that's just the beginning. Canon's smaller EOS R5 is unable to accomplish this, despite its $1,600 price difference. With continuous autofocus and sound, the Z9 can shoot 4K at up to 30 FPS by oversampling the full width of the sensor, and up to 120 FPS. Even so, there's more to come. Nikon plans to add an 8K 60p internal RAW video in the form of Tico RAW in a future firmware upgrade. You may record 11 minutes of lossless 12-bit 8K RAW video and 54 minutes of visually unaffected 8K to a 1TB card when it launches later this year. Video focusing is fast, reliable, and can keep track of a subject's face even if they're a long distance away. When moving toward the camera, it keeps up with the subject without jerking. However, you may need to adjust the AF speed. Inconveniently, the only way to find or use the option is by diving into the sub-menu. A future firmware release could let Nikon users remap the function. At the 8K and 4K oversampled resolutions, the rolling shutter is more pronounced than in still images. However, in some cameras, such as Sony's A7 IV, the sensor readout speeds are so fast that it's not quite as unpleasant. As long as the subject is moving quickly, it isn't even noticeable. Oversampled 8K and 4K videos are exceptionally clear. If you're searching for it, you'll notice a slight dip in quality when you increase the frame rate to 4K and pixel binning kicks in. Although the color reproduction is excellent, the skin tones aren't quite up to the standards of Canon's most recent cameras. In the 400 to 800 ISO range in ProRes mode, the dynamic range is excellent, making it easy to alter shadows and highlights in post-production. High-capacity CF Express cards are a must if you shoot ProRes, and this is because the file size can grow up to 132 GB for 10 minutes of 4K 60p ProRes HQ film. Even without a mechanical shutter, the Nikon Z9 is Nikon's most powerful and flexible mirrorless camera to date. If and when the RAW video firmware upgrade is released, it will be a real powerhouse when it comes to recording video in high quality. A pity, given Nikon's impressive video capabilities, which the camera doesn't have an articulating screen. Comparatively, Sony's $6,500 A1 delivers similar speeds, resolution, and video capabilities to the Z9. For $1,000 less, the Z9 has a higher 8K frame rate with the impending firmware upgrade, making it a better choice for 8K photography. Your final decision may come down to whether you like the camera systems made by Sony or Nikon. When it comes to professional photography, the Z9 is a superb option for those who aren't willing to sacrifice. We do hope you're impressed after watching the review of the Nikon Z9. Were you? I'm sure you are. So why not like the video, subscribe, and click the notification bell. Also, give us your thoughts in the comments section below, and thank you so much for watching.